You're listening to a TGM production. Only Murders on TV. Hello, and welcome back to Only Murders on TV, the podcast where we talk about everything from crime drama, crime procedural, detective, anything that involves that type of thing. Today, the 9th of September 2025, I found out that the TV show Clark, which is a fantastic Swedish Netflix original with English subtitles, is classed, according to Google, as a crime drama, even though it's more of an autobiography about this crime criminal. So, what you're about to see is the most complicated review I've ever had to adapt for this podcast. We adapted the Annika, which was alright because we were able to do a pre-vamp and talk about Annika and it being on and whatnot. But here's why we are doing this today. I was coming up with an idea for a spin-off of this podcast, Only Murders on the Radio. Trying to work out how to make the spin-off work, whether or not I put the episodes in the same podcast section on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and all the other podcast platforms, or create a separate one, because I know the visual version would always be on the Only Murders on TV podcast YouTube channel. I was also watching Only Murders in the Building. The brand new series has come out and it's brilliant so far. 3 episodes down, amazing so far. Now, Clark is this incredible Netflix original, and I will not stop talking about it. So in 2022, when the show came out, I reviewed it on my podcast, Take Two, which was and will be a podcast where I review films and talk a bit about TV, but not a lot. And then in 2024, I thought, other things in this genre on this program has happened, so let's adapt it for a series I run called Tom's TV Show Reviews, which I still do, but will be returning. And so I created an intro and the outro, but there's bits in that outro that I wasn't too keen on now that I found the original file, so I was able to cut it down slightly. So it will be a slightly altered version of the Tom's TV Show Reviews video, because it starts with an intro and we talked about what's going to happen, and we're talking about my thoughts then about Clark. Then it cuts to a clip from the BBC Radio 5 live radio series / podcast called Must Watch, where Scott Bryant, Hayley Campbell, and then Niall Hawthorne, I do apologise for mispronouncing name, but now it's Nagaman Chetty hosts it, and they talk about TV shows of that week that they recommend. They do a section called Downloads where they read out emails that have been sent in by listeners. I, an avid listener of the radio show / podcast, I sent in this email about Clark, and me saying that Clark's amazing, you should watch it, and brilliant, and they had the whole comedy giggle about it. So, what you'll see is a bit at the beginning, where I talk about my thoughts on the show and whatnot, a bit where I then introduce the clip, then the Take Two episode, which is like 11 minutes, and there was nothing at the end. There's a bit at the end where I talk back about it, talk about some other thoughts on it, then there's nothing. But because I've got this intro at the beginning, I am just preempting that the ending will just fade out, rather than bye, it'll just fade out. Now, this is, the audio for this one is slightly weird, because I was using a clip-on mic, and I'm still learning in that realm of the world of clip-on mics. So the audio might sound a little bit instead of it's like so I do apologize. I'm also apologizing for me losing my voice. I do apologize. So the audio might be slightly weird for the newer bits, the bits that look more like this sort of shot, and then for the original bit, which is after the podcast, after you stop hearing other people's voice, when it gets back to me, that's from Take Two, because I was learning at that time, and we improved. So before we get into that, what I want to talk about in this 2025 version of the beginning, I want to talk about my thoughts now of Clark. Now that I watched it in 2022, tried to promote it and tell people all about it in 2023. Got my opinions across on the radio. I can't remember what year that section from, and then had my third channel, The Weird Side, opinion on it in 2024. What is my opinion now in 2025? Now that it's been 2022, 2023, 2024, 2025, 4 years since the show came out. Well, as I say in my original conversation, Babben Larsson, the Swedish Taskmaster, has a brief cameo. I have interviewed her. It's a cracking interview. She's brilliant. She has a cameo in the show, and that's how I found about this show, because I found it through Babben Larsson. And Clark is played by, and I'm not going to try and pronounce his name because I've never been able to, or is it Bill Skarsgård? Do apologise, but it's played by the bloke that plays It in the rebooted version of the It franchise, which is a Stephen King novel. And he's this fanciful criminal, but you can sort of see that the way the show is produced, it's made in this sort of cartoony happens like beat 1, beat 2, beat 3, beat 4 here's the action, here's the action, here's the action, bang bang bang, oh no, he's up to something, he's on the run, he's on the run, he's on the run, and you sort of do apologise, he sort of feels like he's you feel invested in this criminal trying to survive and break free, and it's not done in a way of saying, oh, the criminal's amazing. It's just showcasing that the word Stockholm Syndrome didn't exist before, and this is how that phrase came about, this is how everything. And it's one of those shows that you sort of watch and go, wow, that is incredible, interesting, but also a little bit weird, because it's slightly, and I wouldn't recommend it for a whole family, because it's slightly inappropriate. There's a good few scenes that are incredibly inappropriate for a family viewing, so I wouldn't recommend it for a family. I think it's 15 or it might be an 18. And it's one of those where you sort of want to watch it with the subtitles, not dubbed. Really don't try it dubbed, because it probably doesn't sound as great. But you watch it and go, this is how those type of shows should be made. It's a limited series, so only one series, and it's one of those shows that need to be produced again. Not like the same program, but that style needs to be replicated for other in that same genre. And it works incredibly well. You sort of get this feeling that you're invested in the world. You sort of want to be there. And it doesn't represent a time at all. It's like when you watch a program about the 80s, you know you're in the 80s, you watch about 70s, 60s, whatever. You know you're in that decade, and you go, yeah, oh, funny, ha, 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 ha. Oh, yes, ha, 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 ha. But when you're watching Clark, you're not feeling you're in the world, because you're in a cartoonish version. So you feel like you're reading a Beano from the 70s or 80s. You feel like you're looking at a cartoon, and you're looking at panel by panel, because the way the show is made is it's made in that type of style, and you sort of feel that you don't feel at all like, this is dragging. When is it over? Ooh, when is it over? You want it to go on and on and on and on, because it's so beautifully shot, beautifully filmed, and just beautifully acted. And I have always, since then, tried to say, watch Clark, watch Clark, watch Clark. Do you know that actor from It? Yeah. I recommend Clark. Watch Clark. It's a Netflix Swedish original. But you can watch it with subtitles. So I always say, I always try and recommend it. So even though, as you know, my favourite TV show of all time is Doctor Who. A lot of people know what Doctor Who is. So you don't really need to sell Doctor Who. Outnumbered, don't really need to sell. Right? But Clark, you have to sell, because not many people will have heard of it. You then have to shoehorn why it's brilliant without spoiling any of it, and you also have to say it's probably not got the rewatch value you want, because once you've watched it once, it's ingrained in that brain. You don't need to watch it again. It's in there. It's in there. It's like Thunder in My Heart. Once you watch Thunder in My Heart once, it's in there, which is another Swedish program, which is on another streaming service. But it's not a crime drama, so we won't talk about it. And I think that you really have to think to yourself, why am I watching this? Why is it so brilliant? Why is no one talking about it? But luckily, I've got it on the BBC, so the nation have heard Clark, or the nation that listened to Radio 5 Live. So we know that Clark is worth watching. And hopefully, what you're about to see, hopefully Hayley, who is one of the hosts on Must Watch, has since watched Clark. Who knows? Because they don't really do follow-ups of that. But overall, I love Clark. It's one of the best Netflix originals. One of. There's probably about 3. And I think in the top 3 goes Clark, Stranger Things, and I'm going to leave the third one for now because I actually don't know. I think Wednesday's getting up there to be really good, but again, I really like the series and watching it then. So really, Clark is the best Netflix original out there, and it's worth watching. So without further ado, here is my review from 2022 and 2024. So it's 2024 Tom and 2022 Tom in different varying qualities. So if you're watching this on YouTube and Spotify, I do apologise about the quality shift from this to 2024 to 2022. There's no intro, outro at the end, so it will just fade out. So without further ado, please enjoy my review of Clark from Tom's TV Show Reviews and from Take Two. Enjoy! I'll see you next time for more. Bye-bye. We're reviewing the Netflix Swedish original Clark. Now, I did watch Clark when it first came out, and I did review Clark when it first came out, but not for Tom's TV Show Reviews. I reviewed it for my podcast, Take Two. A very good podcast. It is coming back. A lot of things are happening with this channel where I'm reviving old things that never went anywhere. So, a few weeks ago, okay, let's just delve into some back history here. There's a Radio 5 Live show. Radio 5 Live is BBC Radio 5, which is a news, sport and entertainment radio station here in the UK. They have a show on it called Must Watch, which is where Hayley, Scott and Nahal Arthur Nagan is the host of his own show in the afternoon, but they do a podcast type thing on Must Watch where they recommend the shows you should watch that week, and they have a section where they get emails in from the listeners and it can be recommended a programme or asking a general question. So I'm obsessed in a sense with Clark. When it first came out, I watched it all the day it came out. I was telling everyone to watch it, go and watch it. I was making sure everyone knew about it, and then I thought, well, I tried it a few times to get my email read out about it on Must Watch, but this time it worked. So, and it made me think, well, I haven't actually done Tom TV Show reviews on it, but I don't really want to discredit my previous review that's still available to watch in its original format over on the Weird Side, which channel you're watching now, if you did type in Take Two Clark. So I thought, well, I'll just cut it so it's just a review. I'll play some bits and bobs at the beginning. So what you're about to see is this. You're about to listen. You'll see an image appear on your screen, a still image of a Must Watch, where for the first few, it's like 50 seconds, they're talking about my email they read out about Clark, and then you'll see my review of Clark, and then it'll come back to me, this me now, 2024 me, not 2022 me. And I'll give some updated opinions and updated thoughts and what I think about Clark now, rather than what I thought about it at the time. And it'll be a sort of retrospective type thing, but it won't be retrospective, it will be a review due to the fact that we've got the review involved in it, if that makes at all sense, because hopefully this all makes sense. We've got the standard intro, standard outro, and standard me talking now in the middle, but we will have new stuff. So this is a interesting bit. The thumbnail, I'll be honest, I'm mega proud of it. I quite like that. The trying to get the Clark title, the logo in it, and have the plain background where I can just shift it around so I've got room so I don't cover up any of the image with the text
was a Saffron nightmare. And I did it on the mobile iPad app version of Photoshop, not the desktop version, which is two similar things. I will do a review on that at some point in the future, because I still do tech videos, but I just don't do them as regular as I do televisual content. So, without further ado, enjoy listening to people talking about my email I wrote to them about the Netflix Swedish original Clark with English subtitle, now available on Netflix, and then you'll see my review of it from the Take Two podcast. So the setup is different, the quality of camera is 100% different, so a lot of things with it is different. And over the time we've improved, we've developed, and we're here now with this new camera that we're still learning, we're still developing, and we're trying to think what actually works, and then we're trying to learn new angles and a lot of things. So I was in college when I filmed the review and I watched Clark. I'm now in university, so it's been a few years. Please enjoy Past Me and Written Down Me.
Tom from Lancashire. Hayley, what did Tom have to say?
Says, "Dear the best podcast team ever."
Well, we'll take that.
We will take that, thank you. I've been listening to the podcast for years now, and I want to recommend the 2022 Swedish Netflix series Clark, brackets, there are English subtitles. It's a fantastic show. I saw it all the day it came out. It's about Clark, who was the man who helped make the term Stockholm Syndrome and how he became a massive criminal. To be honest, that sounds right up my street, and I don't understand why I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, I know.
Download for next week.
So thank you,
for
Tom.
Hayley.
When you were reading that out, I was like, this could be written by Hayley.
Yeah,
I know.
Hayley, we can't send emails to ourselves recommending shows to put on download. I know what you're
And
trying
it's
to
a
do
bit
here.
obvious that I've called us the best podcast team ever.
Yeah, that's true.
It's a bit pathetic.
Yeah, it's a bit Trumpian, isn't it?
Yeah.
That? It is a bit Trump. Best podcast team ever.
Oh, that's so many impressions this week.
Original Clark. All about the Swedish, what Wikipedia calls celebrity gangster, which I'm still quite unsure what we're what links to the words celebrity gangster. What is justified by celebrity gangster? Obviously, we know what justifies as a gangster, but what about celebrity gangster? Who knows? Anyway, so she stars in Clark. She's in episode 5 if you want to go watch the program. If you want to watch the program, it is available in dubbed, but I recommend you watch it with subtitles. Spoilers will be ahead for what's about to happen. I think it's an 8-episode program, might be 6, but I think it's 8. It's about Clark Overson, who was the origin of Stockholm Syndrome, which was a bank robber in Stockholm. Obviously, it's a place in Sweden. He was in prison. So as a child, he didn't have a great upbringing, so no wonder he went into the life of crime. He did a lot of robbing. He was very popular. I think that's why I'm going to try and make it as family friendly as possible. So elements of the show I won't be mentioning because we all know I'm a family friendly YouTuber / podcaster. So I want to keep it as family friendly as possible. So the program works in a sense of it's a mixture of vintage footage from the time of it happening mixed with modern day footage. Now the bloke that plays Clark played Pennywise in the It 1 and It 2. So if you know the actor's name, do let me know in the comments down below, because I think I know his name, but he's Swedish, so it's like the pronunciation I don't want to get wrong or anything. So Clark Halvorsen is the main character, and I'm quite glad I've got that right, because when I'm telling people to watch Clark, I'm saying watch Clark, watch Clark, watch Clark, watch Clark. It's called Clark Halvorsen, and I never got his name right until now. I got his name right until now. Clark Halvorsen, diddle-diddle-doo. Boo! The police, a bloke called Tommy, is heavily after him. Like, literally, has risked his whole career to chase after Clark. Clark has been in prison multiple times, been in, prison where he's on his own, prison where he's with everyone. He started a riot. Now, I didn't quite understand the riot bit because when he started a riot in the prison, he made them all not eat food, and obviously you can't live without eating. So it didn't obviously go to plan. Well, it did, but not for Clark. So Clark, on a hunger strike, is what it was. He would eat and eat and eat. I think, if my memory serves me right, the Stockholm Syndrome event happened in 1973. So he was been a criminal years before, and he got his girlfriend at the time to bring him the food, and his mum was proud. I think his mum was only proud of him because he became famous. I think there's a difference, because parents don't want children to become murderers, robbers, gangsters, celebrity gangsters, as Wikipedia likes to call it. I don't trust everything Wikipedia says, so I'm hesitant to know what a celebrity gangster is based on what Wikipedia wants to tell me. He's still alive. He lives in Belgium. So obviously, he must have seen Clark. He must have thought he was incredible, because the boy that plays Clark in the series looked really like Clark Overson, the actual human being. And I just think the series is immaculate. There's nothing I can say that's terrible about it, apart from what happened in the program, as in like the stuff that Clark did. Obviously, was deemed terrible, but in my eyes, it wasn't a terrible program. Barbara Larson was in it and was perfect in it, so I've got a good feeling she's got a whole acting career coming for her. And I mean, she might have already had an acting career, I'm not too sure, but I reckon she will become the next famous actor, the next Swedish breakthrough actor, and will have her own Netflix original, even though she was in this Netflix original. The way they filmed it was so there's a scene where they're in a car, right? So it cuts to him in a car, and this is like just before he goes in to speak to the bank robbers that's got the people held hostage. So he sat there in the car, and it cuts to a vintage clip of what the voiceover people, the commentators, the news reporters who were actually reporting at the time, the crowd that were actually there. And they get to the window, and you don't see the actual people, you see the cast from the Netflix version, which I thought was incredible. It's incredible! It's incredible! It's incredible! It's incredible! So I've been listening to Kermode and Mayor Takes, which is their brand new film TV podcast, after they left BBC Radio 5 Live. And obviously I've been inspired to, obviously I changed the name before I found out what they called their podcast, but I've been listening to it, I've been watching it, because they upload them on YouTube as well, so I am learning the best ways to review film and TV from a film reviewer, Mark Kermode. Anyway, back to what I was talking about. So, with Stockholm Syndrome being this, like, not what everyone thought it was, you realise that the crime committed wasn't Clark Overson, which is quite weird, because they all called him Stockholm Syndrome, even though Clark Overson didn't actually commit the bank robber that was talked about on the show. So the bank robber that was talked about on the show was Clark's friend. Clark's friend, don't remember his name, sorry, do apologise. Clark's friend was the mastermind behind the murder. I mean, not the murder, the rob of the bank, but decided to be inspired by Clark. So obviously there's a bit of a overlap there. But with this, it causes a few problems. It causes problems that they end up... I don't know what's wrong with Clark. There's a few things wrong with him as a person. Because he flew to Spain, I think it was Spain, at one of the episodes, and he was on the front cover of a few magazines. So obviously the Swedish police are going to catch him that easily, and they caught him easily. He escaped the prison again. He was a very good escape artist, making a rake and turning the rake into ladders. Very clever man. And then he turns up somewhere else, and gets arrested somewhere else, because he becomes famous in those countries. So I think I worked out where the celebrity bit comes from. But the gang's a bit, I don't know. But his friend and Clark went to go and rob another bank because he thought, we need the cash, let's go rob a bank. And then ended up robbing, his friend ended up lighting the bomb off by accident. That wasn't the cleverest of moves. But he did flock to Belgium to start a new life and not become a robber, but not everything turns out well because obviously past mistakes still haunt him and he hasn't been caught for everything he's done. So, there you go. This has been my 10-minute review of Clark. All episodes are available on Netflix around the world. It's a Netflix original. You can watch it with subtitles and in dubbed if you wish. I do recommend watching it with subtitles. I'm not recommending dubbed because you want to hear Babylon Larson's original voice.
Well done past me, that was a wonderful review. And well done past me for actually getting the email read out on Most Watch. I'm just going to put my phone down on the floor. There you go. The reason why I mentioned that just in case with a thought, because it was in my elbow space, because I need to put down. I've lost the camera, I've lost the light, but it doesn't matter. I'm still got another. So, Clark. Clark is one of those programs that you really watch and go, wow. And I still think about it today, due to the fact that I at least stumbled across this, because I interviewed Babylon Larsson, who is the Swedish Taskmaster. She's a comedian by herself. She's appeared on the Swedish version of QI, and she's also a television presenter in Sweden. She used to work mainly for SVT, which is their version of the BBC. But now she works for TV4, which is the new home of the Bessie test, which is what Swedish Taskmaster is called. So, and Taskmaster Sweden is available on the Channel 4 app, which used to be called All4. Before that, it was called 4OD. So you can go watch it there and see her stunning performance as a Taskmaster. And then you can go and watch her cameo in Clark. Now, Clark is one of those programs that has a megastar as its lead. I'm not going to try and pronounce his name, but he played Pennywise in the new It franchise, in the reboot It franchise. Clark is one of those things where you watch it and go, wow. And you keep going, wow, and you end up getting more obsessed with it. So, it's based on a true story, but the way it's filmed, the way it's edited, the way it looks, it's just gorgeous. And it's also a lot of, you question what's going on because you've got Clark Olofsson, who is the main protagonist, because it's about Stockholm Syndrome, and you think, well, did he invent Stockholm Syndrome? And this review does contain spoilers. I should have mentioned that at the very beginning of the video. And he goes through it and he goes, well, he does get in trouble, he does go to prison, he does get all the ladies. I won't go any further details than that because this is a family-friendly review. And he is very much well liked in that sense. He's very good at escaping, running around, but he's like a celebrity gangster, shall we say. So that's what it's described as, in a sense of who is Clark Olofsson. Well, it's a celebrity gangster, so you can't really say much else, can you? No. But the show doesn't say, yes, do this. It isn't like, then he did this, then he did this, then he did that, then he did that. Oh no, and then he did that. No, it was like a voiceover that explain some of the bits that you can't really explain. But I do think that the show itself worked very well. It was well made. I think the acting was brilliant. There was bits in it that I wouldn't necessarily put in it, but that's just my own opinion. We can go into too much detail, and I think that when he goes to prison and you think, well, is that going to stop him from doing these crimes? And you learn that he he is Stockholm Syndrome, but he isn't. He's Stockholm Syndrome's friend, sorry, I should say, because he didn't really commit the crime that led fame to Stockholm Syndrome, as in the what we know now. So it was one of those things. Like, what? Wait, hang on. Hold your horses, people. Hold your horses. I thought you were Stockholm Syndrome. Hold your horses. Hang on. I'm Stockholm Syndrome's friend. Wait a moment. And you're like, well, yeah, you can. And you're like, no. But you question sanity, you question everything, and you're like, right, I'm back to square one. What do we do now? Come on, give me feedback. What do we do now? Come on. How do we go from here? Well, bring him in and then negotiate, because that's his friend, and his friend's only doing this because he wants to be like you. Oh, no. You do not want that, dear. And he's like, well, no, but yeah, but no, but yeah, but. And he's like, no, we're not in a Little Britain sketch. Thank you, Clark Overson. He is like fascinating. And it's one of those where you wish Netflix did one of those things where it went. So ITV, for instance, they did Mr. Bates versus the Post Office, right? And it was a drama based on true events. And then the following night, once we had all 4 episodes, they then did a program called The Real Mr. Bates versus the Post Office, where it was a documentary with the actual characters in it. I don't know if Clark Overson is dead, or whether or not they could have done a Netflix-style documentary about him, or they could have done The Real Clark, which would have been a documentary which showed. So the way this documentary would work is you talk about the events, play the clip from the show, and then get people that were there at the time, if anyone's still alive from the events at the time. Who really knows? So overall, I do think the show in 2024 is still a 10 out of 10. It's one of those things that I'll not stop recommending forever. Forever and ever and ever, I'll always recommend Clark. My favourite bit in Clark, pretty much, is the bit where he's in the back of the car, police car, and he's about to go and deal with Stockholm Syndrome itself. And you just get... That's my favourite moment of all time. But my second favourite moment of all time is when he's trying to eat something in this diner bar cafe thing, and then Babben Larsson turns up and says, "Oh no!" and you think that is Babben Larsson, and you say, "Well done," and it's like, what a stunning performance. Who knew? Because I didn't know Babben Larsson could act. To be fair, from what I knew of Babben Larsson beforehand, I knew her as a presenter, a comedian. And when you see comedians that you've never really seen act before, for instance, I forgot that Bradley Walsh did Law and Order UK before I saw him act in Doctor Who. So I saw him as a chief presenter. When I see him act in Doctor Who, he was phenomenal. And so I now know that Babben is a comedian, presenter and actor, because her performance was brilliant. So, there you have it. I will always recommend this show to anyone, and now if I want to recommend it even further and say, do you want to see a review of it first, I'll send them this. And now I've got Tom's TV show reviews to review Clark. I think Clark is still a 10 out of 10.